One of the things you have to let go of is being perfect. When you set yourself up to go into that event and think that perfection is the only way to measure success, it will never happen. One of the things I've always said to myself is,
how do we lie to ourselves in a positive way to set ourselves up for success or accomplishing our dreams? I've been doubting myself for a long time, and I've got no money and I've got no skills and flunked out of college, whatever it is, but I got this big dream and I'm going to do this thing. Like, is that actually realistic to say those things? Or how do I then use that dream and that image in my mind of what I want to create, what I'm going to become? How do I then apply that into life to actually making it come true when it seems so far away?
I love this. So I will say this. Everybody's dreams are lies because they don't exist, right? Everybody's dreams they're just making that up. That's why they're dreams. And so the difference though between people who are successful or not is how they choose to pursue those dreams. So let's just say I had a dream to become an Olympian. I always in my mind picture that dream on the top of a staircase.
Yes.
And I have these series of steps that go down. And every step represents a quantifiable SMART goal that I'm going to put on there. Right? So let's say I got a dream.
Speaking my language, because I would frame my dreams and goals.
100%. So I'm going to get out of bed every day and exercise for 30 minutes. I'm going to get out of bed.
That's step one.
Exactly.
Wow.
What's step two? I'm going to get out of bed every day, right? And I'm going to find myself a coach. That is from the I love what you did. When you went to New York City, same thing Bruce Jenner did. When he decided he wanted to go to the Olympics, he found out where the best people were that were training for the decathlon. He went to San Diego and he started training with them. Step number 3, I'm going to find the best person in my field and I'm going to be relentless and pursue them and train with them. If that means I got to pick up their shoes, if that means I got to clean their toilet, whatever that is.
Wow.
And that is, you start putting those steps in there. Now, when you put those steps in, be like, oh, guys, success came. No, they're going to say, no, hell no. Just like they said to you, what are you doing here, gringo? You don't belong here. This is Eastern European handball.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But now you got to say, stop. Don't let that come in. That's where you use the power of affirmations. Stop. We talk in psychology about this thing called centering. Physical actions that you'll see athletes do.
Like a trigger, like a snap of a rubber band.
Stop the negative thought.
A slap in the face, whatever it is, right?
Replace, deep breath in. You got this.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever that is. Whatever it is, because you're going to be on your first step. I didn't get up today. You start again tomorrow.
So you need that mantra or positive affirmation or stopping process and then a mantra, right?
Yes.
So you got to stop and add a positive affirmation.
Make it automatic and recognize that it's a skill. Get your 3. You got this. I work harder than anybody. Nobody outworks me. I can learn everything. Whatever it is, get it ready. And then figure out what your trigger is going to be. Don't mix it all up. Get your trigger. A friend of mine was, when he was trying to quit smoking, he put it all, his hands was always in there because he always jingled coins. Another person, always their keychain, shake, shake. And then it becomes automatic. And that's where you want it to be. I got this. You can't beat me, cigarettes. No, not today. Whatever that might be. But recognize how important it is to ladder up that step. Because if you put that big dream out there, it becomes so overwhelming. Where am I going to start? Oh my gosh. The tiniest step is the one that moves us towards our goal. The tiniest step.
And then do you celebrate after you reach the next step, or how do you?
You've been studying.
I feel like I've studied a lot of sports psychology just through the practice of sports and then reading a lot of books and interviewing a lot of people, but I always love everyone's take on it. So
this is, I think, a mistake that people make is they don't take a moment to make the celebrations. And so they don't ever get to reward it. I just tweeted the other day somebody who graduated from high school, university, and I said, savor the moment. Your person from Yale, she will speak about savoring. That's a big component about happiness. And savoring means live in it, feel it, relish it, embrace it. When sometimes it's cold and you want to just get out in the sun, you're just like, and you just feel it. That's savoring.
Yeah.
Pausing, slowing down, engulfing it. It's almost like when something's happening, like pull yourself out and just watch yourself with your friends and appreciate it.
Because those moments don't happen that often.
No.
you've got to really create those little moments every day in order to make them happen. I remember when my whole dream was to be an All-American athlete growing up. And when I took on the goal of doing this in the decathlon, I told you before the show a little bit that I had 6 months to train for the decathlon my senior year. I decided to do it my senior year. I waited. Yeah. And I remember I got the top 8 are All-Americans in track and field in each event. And I got 8th place. And I remember I was like, my whole life I've been dreaming about this. I spent 6 months of like sacrificing all sugar, waking up at 6 a.m., falling on my back on the pole vault, and all these different, heartaches over the last 6 months. I finally was on the podium holding the trophy. I have the trophy in the other room still, and was like so happy. And then 10 minutes later, I was miserable. And I found every reason why I wasn't good enough, why I should have gotten 6th place, or how I messed up this event, and how I didn't do this right. And I put myself down more and more and continue to beat myself up. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go after the next goal because I don't feel the way I want to feel. So I got to go achieve something greater and bigger to believe in myself more. And I kept doing that and realizing no matter how much I achieve or accomplish, I need to savor those moments of celebration, not even just at the end of the celebration or the end of the goal, but each step along the way I need to celebrate because it's not about the end.
You have a thing that I would identify you with a thing what we call maladaptive perfectionism in the world of sport. So perfectionism is a good thing, right? Until it becomes a bad thing.
Obsessive, yeah.
Right? It's like,
painful.
And so when perfectionism hinders your ability to have joy, to move on, to pursue something because of your fear of failure, or you're never good enough, or you can't relish your accomplishment, it becomes maladaptive. And
what's maladaptive mean? Bad adaptive?
Yes, right. It's bad for your skills, right? And so it sucks.
Yes.
And then it inhibits you. And you'll see this in a lot of high performing athletes. Who are driven to excellence, that perfectionism becomes so debilitating that they then can't perform.
They can't get in the flow.
Spiral down.
Yeah.
Cheeks mente heli, flow.
Yeah.
Right?
They can't get in the flow.
Yeah.
They can't be present because they're so anxious and worried about everything else.
I once had an athlete who his game just started going down further and further. Every time he had a mistake, oh gosh. I remember he's like, well, I think I should make 9 out of 10 passes, 10 out of 10 passes. And I remember taking him and putting Roy Keane, a famous footballer, on TV, and showed him how Roy Keane made 4 out of 10 passes, 5 out of 10 passes. The very best footballer in the world. And you 19-year-old kid wants to make 10 out of 10?
Yeah, good luck.
Changed his mindset. It allowed him to let go of being excellent. Because if you're perfect, then you could be, but then you're not stretching. You're in some place that's comfortable, where you can be good and excellent. But if you're moving forward and you're driving to these new places where the skill is novel to you, you're a new boss, you're a new leader, of course you're going to screw up.
Yeah.
Right? That is the example of you pursuing excellence.
Yeah, you need to fail in order to grow. You need to mess up over and over again to then see and adapt and change and get the feedback necessary to improve.
Yes.
It is part of the process. You have to fail over and over again.
Amen.
It's how you handle it with a positive affirmation as opposed to, I suck, I'm stupid, I'm horrible, I'm never going to be good enough. It's how you change that. What's that? What is it you call it in psychological terms when you stop and then add a mantra, or what's that?
Well,
When you mentioned earlier about, okay, when you do something wrong, you stop it with the trigger. Centering,
Yeah.
and then you add a positive mantra.
Yeah.
Is that what you call it?
Yep.
Centering.
So whatever you're centering, and all that is gets you out of your head. Center here. Now you go forward
In the moment.
Yeah.
Because so many of us are never in the moment. What about this situation when you don't have the skills or the repetitions, you haven't done the steps, but you've got a big opportunity that just came on your lap. You've got an interview for something you're really excited about. You've got a first date of your dream girl, whatever it is. You've got this moment and you're like, man, but I don't have the reps.
Yeah.
I don't have the preparedness. I don't have the confidence. I don't have the skills. Do you just say, I'm not going to go into this and I'm not going to take on the challenge or the speech in front of an audience when I haven't practiced? How do we lie to ourselves in a positive way to get through that moment and do the best we can without falling on our face?
It's a good question, because what your level of preparation in terms of readiness for the event versus my level of will always be different. You might have done 1,000 repetitions and I did 10,000 and I'm still not ready.
Right.
So this is true no matter who you are, no matter where you're going into that new and novel situation. And one of the things you have to let go of is being perfect. Mm-hmm. When you set yourself up to go into that event and think that perfection is the only way to excel, to measure success, it will never happen. One of the things I've always said to myself is this is a process. What am I here to learn? And so that is one of the questions I always tell myself.
But this is a big moment. This is the opportunity. It's coming to me.
Yes.
What if I fail?
And you're going to. Embrace failure, because that is not the outcome that measures your success. If you come into something and say, success is only if I don't make a blunder. When you make the failure,
you're done. It's over. You might as well give up.
Exactly. And so reflect on it. It is the reflection after the event. I am in this. I know I'm not ready, but there's lots to learn from me going now. And when I do this, I will now be better prepared for the next time.
Yeah.
I'm a new vice president. I will say average at best. Oh, I've screwed this up. I got to do this better next time. That's always in my head is, man, these are great teachable moments. The next university that gets me for a vice president is going to be really lucky.
Mm-hmm.
What am I saying?
The next one, not the
right? What am I saying? See how I'm interpreting that
of course.
feedback?
It's all interpretation.
So
life is an interpretation.
This is true. So confident people, they interpret feedback differently.
So true. You're speaking like a self-help coach, you know?
I am a sports psychologist. I can't help it.
But interpretation, I mean, when I've studied this emotional intelligence training for a long time, out of need of suffering and pain and holding on to past hurts and not healing and trauma and all these things, where, I realized the interpretation of being sexually abused as a kid, holding on to that for 25 years as this horrible, painful thing is what kept me down. Mm-hmm. But when I flipped the interpretation and said, yeah, this sucked, and I don't wish it on anyone, but what did I gain from this? Mm-hmm. And what value did it bring to my life? And how can I improve and make sure this doesn't happen to any other young boy out there in the world? What content can I provide? And how can I become a better human being because of it? That interpretation switch gives me more joy, more passion, more love, happiness, as opposed to holding on to a negative story interpretation and making that my life.
Yes. And recognize that, you are doing what's known as protective factors to protect yourself from the trauma that caused. And when you're able to get and embrace that conversation, I can't speak for yourself, but I'm assuming you're able to let go and move forward and through it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it takes, it can take you a long time. If you continue to hold on to that, you're never going to be truly fulfilled if you hold on to that. Mm-hmm. And so you've got to learn how to interpret things differently. My girlfriend broke up with me. You've got to learn how to say this is a blessing, not a painful thing, even if it is. Someone died in my life. This is horrible. How can I celebrate their life and not hold on to the pain forever? It's all about interpretation. Guy Winch, I don't know if you've studied Dr. Guy Winch. He talks about rumination, like holding on to rumination of anything, small, big, or in between, and grieving, and holding on to this for a lifetime.
Yeah.
Of ruminating on something that you did wrong or that didn't work out well or what you forgot to do. That rumination process will continue to make you doubt yourself and everything you do if you're holding on to it forever. So that's powerful. I'm curious. So it's all about interpretation. When you have a big moment, a big opportunity, you got one shot. Even if you fail, you got to interpret it beforehand. I had a coach that would, because I used to get really nervous speaking in front of people. Used to be terrified. I don't know if you were terrified speaking in front of people.
No.
On stage.
When I was young, you had to play the piano or the organ.
Oh my God, recitals?
I played the organ, yes. Nobody wants to play the organ.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, I sweat bullets underneath that seat, man.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
I had a speaking coach that after years of training and speaking, I was still getting nervous in front of audiences, and I didn't know why. And I called him before the speech, and he said, "You're still worried about what people think about you. You're still worried about failing in front of people or forgetting to say something. You're going to fail. It's not going to be perfect." He said exactly what you said. And think of your speech as you're here to serve the audience, not to look good in front of the audience.
Yeah.
And when I switched that interpretation, I was able to be more in flow and more free and not worried about what people think.
Love it.
But we're so concerned about this, about what people think about us. How do we overcome that opinion of other people? The judgment, the negative feedback, the gossip behind our back that we don't hear. How do we let go of that fear?
You're asking a question my wife, the counselor, the social worker would talk about right now. One of the reasons why we are so concerned about what other people think and how they look at us and what they think about us is because, to be honest with you, we don't love ourselves. And I know this is like, what the heck? When we are not comfortable with who we are, when we're not appreciated by the people around us, we go elsewhere to find it. But one of the key things is we do that because somewhere along the line, somebody has put us down, somebody has shut us, somebody has told, and then we've owned that. To your point, then we've worn it like a cloak of shame, and we're embarrassed, or we don't feel good about ourselves. You know, there's lots of things you could go back and you could study psychology and say, you know what, he wasn't loved as a child, his mom or his dad or his sister or his wife or whatever, right? But all of those things we don't have control over. And so it's when we start to just really look at ourselves and embrace who we are, whatever it is, warts and all, when we really try to just get past all the external pressures of who we are and what society wants us to be, and can truly love ourselves and appreciate the one skill, the one talent that we might have, whatever it is, then we stop performing and needing it to come from Johnny or Sally or Frida out there, whoever that is in the audience. Then we don't need it. And then we're okay if we fail. The key though, and you said this right there, is that people will interpret all their skills a little bit differently. And sometimes you need that person, that one person, to just remind you of that.
A cheerleader, yeah. How do you love yourself when everyone, and especially you, have reminded yourself of how horrible you are all the time? How do you acquire the skill of loving yourself? And then also, how do you love yourself without being too egotistical or too into self, indulgence so much?
So let's start with the big one, which is the ego, right? Because I don't believe loving yourself is about telling everybody else. To me, loving yourself is about the things that you tell yourself. It's about how you're putting yourself up and forgiving yourself for your mistakes. It's about how you're willing to look past your baubles and just like, hey, move forward, Ivan. You know, the other day I was at a job interview, oh my goodness. And the interview started at this time and it was on Zoom, and I made the time zone wrong and I showed up a half hour late. I'm like,
worst.
Holy sugar sticks. And I was just beating myself up. And my wife said, hey, you gotta love yourself.
Ooh.
Right? And she just reminded me, I got other strengths. I got other things. This one mistake does not define who I am. And I think that's really important. And so then I was able to move forward. But I want to make sure that for all your audience out there, there are people that are mentally unwell. And some of those folks might be battling depression and battling whatever different psychological challenges where it's hard for them to love themselves. And they need to either engage in counseling, they need to engage in whatever that process is to get themselves well. I'm not speaking about those folks, just flip a switch, because we need to recognize that some people have different chemicals that are in their brain that are really impacting their ability to make rational decisions and rational thoughts. And so I don't want somebody sitting here and listening here, so I can't do it, there's something wrong with me. There are many ways and there's processes and systems, and you have to get help when you're unwell and you're not able to navigate this process by yourself. And if you've been trying for a long time, engage others. Nobody does anything alone.
Yeah.
Right? Just like put together your team. Right. And so that's an important piece.
Team is so powerful. If a life team, you know?
Yeah, if you've been struggling and you've been using the tools, the letters, the affirmations, all of these things, recognize, and it's hard, there's a stigma with mental health. For me, if you needed to wear glasses, Louis, because you can't see the board, then it's no different than somebody who has to get a counselor or who has to do cognitive therapy because it will help them get to where they need to be.
Yeah. What's the greatest single skill in developing self-confidence?
Oh, that's a good question. I will say the thought stopping, because thoughts are beliefs and actions. Can I give you a little example of thought stopping? So I want you, we'll pretend like the camera's not there. I want you to share with me for 30 seconds a powerful story, something you're really proud of achieving.
I was in my young 20s and I was terrified of salsa dancing. So I'm a tall white guy in a different culture and a different language and a different style of dance that I've ever seen. And so when I went to a salsa club for the first time by accident and saw I was the only white guy and it was all Latinos dancing and having this incredible time with something I didn't know what I was doing, I was terrified of it. And I would go every week for 3 months and not try at all until I finally got the courage to try it one time. And when I
Stop there.
Yep.
Right? I just want to think about how bad you were. Yep. I want you to hold up your hand, right or left hand. Which one? Left hand, is that your strong hand?
It's my weaker hand.
Whichever is your stronger hand.
Okay.
And I'm going to push it down, but don't let me push it down.
Okay.
Ready? All right. Excellent. All right. Man, not bad. All right. Now I want you to tell you. I
just lifted the other day, so I'm sore.
I want you to tell us the last time you screwed up.
Last time I screwed up.
So this is about fear. The other one was almost. You didn't even get to your really strong part yet.
I know.
But the last time I screwed up. Don't hold it. Don't tell me. Now I want you to think about the last time you cried.
Last time I cried. Okay.
Now I want you to think. Close your eyes. Mm-hmm. I want you to think about the worst thing that you do that you wouldn't tell anybody about. Mm-hmm. Ready? Keep that in your mind. Hold out your right hand.
Eyes closed?
Yep.
Okay.
Don't let me push it down. Think of that thing. What just happened there?
Okay. So holding the negative thought in my mind, how does that?
I want now not to leave you there. Uh-huh. So give me 3 things about yourself that you love.
I'm passionate, I'm loving, I'm wise.
Right? And I will say this, you are warm, you're engaging, and you are probably one of the best hosts that I've ever had. I've done lots of podcasts.
Thank you.
Hold your hand up. Right? Ready? Oh, what just happened there?
Right, it's changing the thought process.
That wasn't about strength. Mm-hmm. I just went there and tore you. Right? Mm-hmm. I went right to your heart. And people don't understand how important that thought is. People think it was like, that was voodoo? Imagine what just happened. Did your eyes start to water? Did your heart rate change? Did your chemical reaction change? Toxins? Your whole body shifted because I induced your greatest and worst thing that you don't want to share with anybody. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what it is, and I'm not asking, but what I'm saying to yourself is this. If you carried that around all the time, what would you become?
The bad stuff, you'd be super weak and sad and emotional, and
you would never take risks. Right? That wasn't, I'm not going to be able to lift dumbbells. No. Right? You would not be able to take risks. You would never put yourself out there because you would be afraid of failure when you would think you were. So when you ask me what's the most important thing that you can do to build your self-confidence, change your thoughts. Right? Stop living in the moments of your failure or what everybody else thinks of you. I'm good at this. And then as soon as I just changed that, bam, I didn't even get to the best part of your warm story at the first time.
Right.
I was like, no, stop it there. Right? He was like, I wasn't that good. I was okay.
Yeah.
But then when I did it, you were about to say I was amazing. I didn't want to do it because I know you've been hitting the weight room. I need to have a little bit of movement. Right?
For sure. Yeah.
That's a long answer to your question.
No, I think that what I'm hearing you say is the greatest skill is to have the skill of positive thought or changing thoughts in any moment that might be holding you back or tearing you down, is the ability to think in a clear, positive way towards what you're proud about yourself as opposed to what you're unproud of yourself, towards what you're capable of instead of what you lack, towards your vision instead of towards your failures.
Yes.
When we think of those things consistently on a daily basis, we're going to become stronger every single day.
Perfect.
I need to focus on the people that I am supporting, the people that my message is lifting up. And if someone's really hating on something, is there any truth in there?
Yeah.
Is there anything that's like, you know what? like I saw a bunch of comments on one of my videos recently on YouTube, a lot of negative comments that is like, you're interrupting the person too much. And if it's 1 or 2 times, I'm going to be like, okay, maybe it doesn't work for me. But if it's a bunch of times, okay, maybe there's some truth there.
Yeah.
And I get excited and I interrupt people sometimes. I'm like, well, tell me more.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, if it's not working for the majority of people, then maybe there's some truth and maybe I can try that next time better. But I don't need to get defensive anymore because it's wasting my energy.
Yeah.
So I really, when someone's super vicious, I just ignore it now.
Yeah.
I just really ignore it, or I say, thank you for the feedback. And for me, that helps me stay true to my mission and not spend all this time and energy on something that's not supporting me.
I find it's great to share it. I tell people, oh, guess what someone said about me?
That's good.
They said that you shouldn't wear those shirts. You're far too old, and stop waving your hands around, and and your English accent, and you speak too slow.
Yeah.
I probably do speak too slowly. But I find that if you share it with them, go, guess what someone said about me today? It obviously can't affect you because you're sharing it.
Right.
Like I told everyone, this woman who wrote to me and said, you're so old, and why don't you dress your age? I'm like, oh, you know, I always thought a silk shirt was kind of ageless, but it's if you share it,
That's good.
it really takes the energy out because you're sharing. You're saying, guess what happened? And this person said that.
I think it's funny.
And,
You can laugh with it.
Yeah.
We did this, I don't know, maybe 4 months ago. We did a video that I posted with like 20 nasty things about me that people said. Kind of like Jimmy Fallon does his mean tweets.
Isn't it great?
We did that ourselves and I could just laugh at them and just put it out there. And I think people were just like laughing with me and like, oh, this is funny and we like you more.
Yeah.
Because you can talk about it openly. It's not
because you're being vulnerable again.
Yeah.
You're not pretending. And also you'll find that when you share, other people come like, I can't believe somebody said that. They clearly don't
crazy.
know you.
Yeah. And then,
you think, oh, I feel better now.
Yeah.
I feel so much better.
Exactly.
So it's interesting that you've had this fear of being rejected, that you've had it all your life. When do you think it will go away?
I think there's always going to be new levels of it.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like in my business, I don't know, I don't feel a rejection, like a fear of rejection there, but that's why I keep looking for it myself because I don't want to feel it reactive to anything. I never want to get too comfortable. I always want to be putting myself in a situation where I don't feel comfortable because I don't want to be rejected by that. That means I need to go do that thing.
Yeah.
And if I'm always thinking ahead of it and trying to apply that, then it's not going to hold me back. And so I don't know. I feel really good about, like, if my girlfriend rejected me, I actually feel pretty good.
You would? Why is that?
I mean, I think because I've gotten to a place, maybe it's my age, maybe it's from like just past breakups and pain, maybe it's from just healing trauma and all these things, the journey that I've been on.
Yeah.
I just feel like I'm finally okay with myself. I finally accept myself for who I am. And if something doesn't work out or if someone rejects me, then it wasn't meant for me.
Yeah, and they don't know you either.
Yeah, and it wasn't the right fit. And I wish them well, and I'll find something that's a better fit, that's a better match. So I think I've just gained a lot of perspective in that, where it's like, I want to be happy. I'm happy with my own company. I'm happy alone. I don't need a lot of things. If I lose all my money, like, I can be happy alone. And that knowing and that presence around that energy, I just feel a lot more confident if I get rejected. And so that's why I'm not afraid of it as much anymore.
Yeah, I'm really pleased to hear that.
Yeah, because I just am like...
Because the only way to really be rejected, the only person who can really and truly reject you is you. People can say things that are mean and hurtful, but you don't have to let them in. They're having a bad day. So your mind, when other people are mean to you, can always rationalize, oh, they're having a bad day.
Right, exactly.
They've just been dumb.
Exactly.
They've just got fired. But when you reject you, the mind can't rationalize because it must be true.
That's the worst thing.
It's the worst thing to reject yourself. But of course, no one has the power to reject you except for you. And yet people are so bad at it. I look awful in this. I sucked at that. I messed that up. That was terrible. I could have done better. I should have prepared. I'm such a loser.
Right.
And so we can deal with other people's rejection because we can rationalize they're having a bad day. Mm-hmm. But when we do it ourselves, it really goes in. So have you stopped doing that to yourself?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. So it doesn't matter about everyone else as long as you've stopped doing it.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Good.
And it's a practice. It's a daily practice.
Yeah, it is. It takes a while. It starts off being what you do, and then, like everything, like boxing or salsa, eventually it becomes who you are, and you can do it. You stop thinking about it, and you just
automatic.
do it. Yeah.
It's automatic. What's the thing that at your stage of your life that you're still afraid of, or your fear of rejection or insecurity or shame?
Yeah. Shame, insecurity. For me, it's interesting because I've just got in this situation where we went to England, our lovely house got completely flooded, had to be totally refurbed. And we just actually moved from a house in London to an apartment. I said to my husband, I don't want to deal with builders for 5 more years. We are not doing anything to this house in LA.
Yeah.
And I want to see a builder. And so lo and behold, it got flooded. And what I've noticed is I walk down to meet them every day singing that song by Bob Marley, Everything Little Thing's Gonna Be All Right. Because it's always like, oh my God, this is a nightmare. Oh, this is hell. This is driving me crazy. This builder's making me want to rip my hair out. And I noticed that I don't do that. I go, this is a situation. This is a challenge. This guy is a compulsive liar, but I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I'm so pleased that I do that because it hasn't been easy at all. I mean, like 3 weeks ago, it's like, this is a 2-month job. We're 7 months in. It doesn't look like anything. It's like there's one person painting away. It's like, but you just have to get to that stage of not using negative language. So what I'd be afraid of, since you asked me, is actually doing the opposite, because then I'd be a fake, because I'm always telling people, look, it's not the event, it's how you feel about it. It's not what happens, it's how you describe it. So when you go, this is a nightmare, this is hell on earth.
This is ruining my life.
So I'd be afraid of being a fraud and not walking my talk. But also I understand, hey, I'm walking to my $5 million house that's being refurbed on the insurance company. This is someone's fantasy dream come to. People say, I'll swap. I sort of had to stop telling people, because you think, I haven't got any problems. What am I complaining about? The insurance company rented me a nice house on a nice canal with nice neighbors. But my biggest fear would be, illness, followed by not walking my talk, not being congruent, preaching one thing and doing another.
Being out of integrity.
Yeah. So a lot of my friends are relationship experts. So, people think you have the best relationship in the world. And they always come to the restaurant just from having a screaming fight with my husband. I go, well, I thought your life was perfect. So I think, that would probably be my only fear. My only big fear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you afraid of rejection at all or no?
I'm really not, because I realize that the only person you can really reject me is I can look and go, oh my God, you look terrible, but I wouldn't ever do that. So I'm not scared of rejection. I'd be more scared of loss than rejection.
Loss, like losing family, friends,
somebody dying, somebody getting sick. I lost my mother, my father, and one of my dearest friends all in the same 3 months. But, it wasn't actually as hard as I thought it would, because my dad when he was dying, was saying, I've had a lovely life. My mum was saying the same thing. My friend, it was harder. But loss is harder to come back from. When you get rejected, you can find someone else that doesn't reject you. Goes, oh, that's not true. They don't even know you. Don't listen to them. It's like going home to your mum and going, Mum, my boyfriend doesn't, because, well, he's an idiot. Doesn't know what he's missing.
Lots of guys out there, yeah.
Yeah, but loss is much harder, and all pain is linked to loss. Really? I guess with you, it's that loss of face, looking silly. So I'd be much more worried about losing something, like losing my husband, or, people I love getting ill. But I don't focus on that too much.
Right.
But I don't fear rejection. I guess also, when you stand on stage every day and speak to thousands of people, you can't do that if you fear rejection. It wouldn't be possible. Yeah. You have to get on there and do it. And when you write books, someone's going to write and go, I hate your book.
No matter what.
And I hate you. And I hate the way you dress. I hate everything you say. And you just go, okay, that's fine. Someone said to me, you're just Tony Robbins in a skirt. I'm like, well, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Right. They, no, but nothing you do is original. But I know my stuff is original. So I didn't let that in.
Right.
Because that's what people don't understand. It's letting it in as a choice. You get to choose. Someone said something, or shall I let it in, or go, oh, you're having a bad day.
Yeah.
You're not a happy person. When one particular person who's decided to attack me, I always think of it as that poor girl girl. Instead of going, where is that horrible person? Let me see what I go, that poor girl. I wonder what that poor girl is doing, because it makes me feel different about her. Instead of thinking, wow, that horrible person who wants to write things, that I just go, that poor girl, so unhappy. What a shame to live like that, because no one says, my life is so great. Who can I diminish today?
Right.
You have to imagine the life of someone who's a troll. I'm going to wake up, go and open my laptop and go, who can I make feel absolutely horrible about themselves?
To try to make myself feel better. Yeah.
But it's because they feel so bad anyway. Their reasoning is, I feel bad, my life's miserable, I want your life to be miserable too, and now I feel equal to you. So a miserable man finds a more miserable man, then he feels a bit better. We should actually say a miserable person tries to hang out with a miserable person and they feel better. But here's another question for you, and it's a very important question. In a world where, you kind of work for yourself, you're your boss, you're your own HR, you're your own feedback. How do you motivate yourself when you don't have someone cracking the whip behind you?
It's going to kind of sound weird, but I just feel like ever since I was younger, I've always had something inside that's like been drawing me to create more, be more, do more. And I still have that feeling every day. Like I'm not finished. Like something's not finished and life is like, could be over in a moment.
Yeah.
Like it can be over tomorrow. Would I be proud of myself of who I've become, what I've created, the human being that I am? Am I proud of myself now? Yes, but I also have a lot more that I want to create.
Yeah.
And so it's a yes and it's like, okay, so I live in an urgent state of mind.
Good.
So that I can just be happy. If something happens to me, you know what? I've given my all. I've given everything that I can at the stage that I'm at, and I'm happy with that. As opposed to, like, the reason why I started picking up Spanish about 6 months ago is because I really was just like, if I die today, that'll be the thing I'm not proud of. That I've been thinking about wanting to do this for 20 years.
Yeah.
And it got too hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I made the excuse of time. I was afraid of looking silly. It was just like so much energy. These excuses I kept living with for 20 years made me sick inside.
Yeah, of course.
Like made me feel like out of integrity with myself. And that's why I was like, I either need to not be drawn to this dream anymore and kill it, die. It needs to die, or I need to go all in.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, I don't want to die this year or in 70 years, 50 years, and keep that dream inside that never came out of me, or at least tried. And if I do this for a year or two and I'm like, you know what? I actually don't care about it anymore. Great. Then I can stop because I don't care, but I still care.
Yeah.
I still want to do it. And so that's what makes me continually creating more, building more, doing more, being more, and overcoming more, because it just feels like it's inside of me and it's got to come out.
And Wayne Dyer said it so wonderfully when he said, don't die with your music still inside you. Such a poignant thing to say, because I remember thinking, I really need to crack on and create my school. And I remember him saying that. And of course, then sadly he did die. But his music, he
sang for years, decades.
His music was definitely out of him. And of course, when you create something, your energy goes on forever. So you can still listen to Wayne or listen to Frank Sinatra, and the energy is still there. So you have what I call the bounce back factor. Like, I say you've got to be like a big rubber ball. How good is your bounce back factor? If you want to work for yourself and have your own podcast, your own audience, your own book, and your own startup, you must be able to have the bounce back factor, because success is not never failing. It's how fast you come back.
Because every day in my business, it feels like there's a problem. You guys know. I mean, it feels like there's a breakdown. Yeah. And it's my job. It's never a smooth day.
Yeah.
A lot of things can go well, but there's always like, but we had a problem with this person today.
Sure. And the bigger you get, the more problems you get.
The more people on your team, there's more challenges. Sure. And people are coming and going and training and legal stuff. It's just like, what is this problem? This problem. And I feel like the more emotionally resilient that I can become, the faster I can bounce back. Yeah. It's when I haven't dealt with my traumas, my pains, my shames. I stick to challenges more.
Yeah.
I analyze them more. I'm like, I get offended more.
Yeah.
When someone does something, I take it more personally as opposed to say, okay, this is unfortunate. This isn't fun, but what's the next steps? Less emotionally attached to this feeling attacked and more of like, okay, this sucks and let's move on.
So many people tell me that they don't know how to find their dream and they are lost. Or they have a dream, but they don't know how to make it come through and always fall short every single year. They have big dreams, but they never make them happen. So today, I'm going to walk you through something I do all the time to get clear on what my dream actually is. And then at the end, I'm going to give you my roadmap for how I've achieved every big dream and goal of mine over the last 15 years. There's something that I do very specific. I'm going to give it to you. But first, I want to walk you through a powerful process. Now, this process will support you in making magic this next year. And it'll help you to relieve the anxiety you feel when you aren't sure what to do and how to make it happen. So I want you to take a moment. We're going to go through about a 5-minute process. It's a guided meditation. This is something I do on a consistent basis. So before we begin, I want you to get grounded. And in a moment, you're going to close your eyes, but not yet. So if you're listening and you're in the car right now or you're working out, then either take a break, because this is going to be 5 minutes. I don't want you to close your eyes when you're running on the treadmill or when you're driving. So obviously either take a break, come back to this, or pause what you're doing so you can really get clear on this. This is important. So I want to make sure you actually do this to the fullest capacity. And in a moment, you're going to close your eyes. But I want you to make sure you remove all electronics from you. If you have headphones on, that's cool. But don't have anything on your lap. Don't have your phone in your hand, and take electronics off of your body so you can fully get grounded and relax. Now, once you've got electronics off of you, I want you to go ahead and close your eyes. I'm going to guide you through a quick little simple process that I do on a consistent basis. This helps me get clear on exactly how to achieve my dreams, and it helps me set up the plan to make it happen. So go ahead and close your eyes. And I want you to take a deep breath through your nose and let it out slowly through your nose as well. So this entire time, you're going to be breathing in and out of your nose. Slow, deep breaths in and slow exhale out of your nose. And again, make sure all electronics are removed from your body. Now continue breathing slowly in through your nose and slowly out of your nose. And try to make the exhale twice as long as the inhale. So if you're going to inhale slowly, exhale even slower and longer than the inhale. Now continue breathing slowly. Relax your body. You can be seated, you can lay down, you can relax in a comfortable position. And during this process, continue breathing through your nose. Now we're going to visualize your life and what the ideal life looks like for you in 3 key areas. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to visualize and look at your health. Now continue breathing deeply in and out through the nose with your eyes closed in order to get the maximum magic from this experience. Now, the only thing that matters to people when they are facing injury or disease that puts them into some type of pain and that could affect them in staying alive is getting better and being healthy. It's the only thing that matters. All the money in the world doesn't matter if you aren't living a healthy life. You know, the people that face cancer and have conditions that are terminal, that are going to end their life, they would give up all their money to live another day, to live another month, another year. So our health is the most important thing, and without it, everything else suffers. And I want you to see your health right now where it is. What foods are you putting into your body? What substances do you take? What is the rest that you're giving yourself at night? Are you moving and strengthening your body on a daily basis, or have you let things slip and slide? I want you to reflect on where you are with your health. And again, with your eyes closed, I want you to imagine your ideal health, the way you want to feel, the way you want to look, the type of activities you want to be doing to physically support yourself. And I want you to see yourself looking into a mirror right in front of you. Again, with your eyes closed, imagine yourself standing in front of a mirror. And see yourself with this ideal health staring back at you in this reflection. Look at yourself in the mirror and see what's possible for your life. See it, feel it, breathe it in. And hold strong to that image in your mind of what's possible. Now I want you to take a deep breath in through your nose and a deep breath out of your nose. And again, hold on to that image that you want to create, that health that you want to create. And I want to move into the second phase of this, which is your relationships. I want you to imagine the most important relationships in your life and see the people who are so important to you in your life. It would be your friends, your family, your loved ones, partners, and imagine all of them standing in front of you right now, looking at you. All these people, your family, your siblings, your kids, your spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, imagine them standing right in front of you with your eyes closed. How are all these relationships in your life? Your relationships with your parents, your children, your loved ones. How are the relationships? Are you present in your relationships? Are you committed to those individuals? Do you stand up for them? Or do you put them down? Do you judge them? Or do you build them up? Are you there for them and support them? Or do you talk about them in a bad way behind their back? Are you the person that you want to be in relationships? Or are there some relationships that are falling behind that actually you really wish were stronger? Now I want you to imagine one person in your life staring at you, standing right in front of you right now. I want you to imagine one person at you who is mirroring you, facing you. And this person is someone that you really wish you had a better relationship with. Someone who's close to you that maybe you guys got in a fight, you had a falling out, you haven't talked in years possibly. And I want you to imagine this person in front of you that you actually wish you had a much more beautiful and powerful relationship with. And I want you to see what's possible for this relationship. I want you to see at the end of this year, hugging this person, having incredible conversations with this person, strengthening the relationships to where it's one of the best relationships you have of all your relationships. I just want you to imagine it for a second. We're not going to go through the steps of how, but just imagine what that would feel like. Letting go of that frustration or anger or resentment or anything that you're holding on to and making this one of the most powerful relationships of your life. See it, feel it, hugging the person, connecting, laughing, and letting go of anything that's been holding you back with this relationship. Imagine it, feel it, and see it in front of you right now. And breathe that in. Take another deep breath in and let it out through the nose. And again, see that experience right now as we move into the third and final phase, which is focusing on your wealth. You know, without creating financial results in our life, it holds us back in a lot of ways. It makes us feel less than. It makes us feel scarce. It makes us feel like we're not worthy. And so getting to a place where we are comfortable with our finances and our wealth and understanding it and creating a better relationship with it actually serves so many other things in our life, our health and our relationships included. But we can't allow one thing to suffer while the other things grow. So reflect on the wealth, the finances that you have. Again, where you are at in your life, how old you are, the experience, the wisdom you have. Look at your bank account in your mind right now with your eyes closed. Look at your bank account. Do you know how much is in there? Do you ever check it? Do you have no clue because you're terrified to look, because you're scared, because you're overwhelmed, because you feel like you're a failure? Do numbers scare you? Are you frustrated? Reflect on your finances and on your wealth. And I want you to see the number that you have in your account that's available for you. See the number that you have with all of your finances, every account that you have. See that final number. And what I want you to do now is imagine a number you'd like to create, whether it be monthly or by the end of the year, in your mind. What that would look like at the end of the year, what you're going to create for yourself. Imagine a number that would create more abundance for you, that would allow you to do more things with your life, allow you to travel, allow you to have flexibility, freedom, allow you to do the things that you want to do more of. Imagine a number that would set you up. And feel the feelings of what it'll be like when you have that, when you've created that, when you've added value into the world and it's brought back through financial abundance. See that number and feel it and experience it. Now take one more deep breath in through the nose and let it out slowly. And hold on to these 3 reflections. Your ideal health of what's possible for you. The ideal relationship of what's possible for one that's been suffering or one that's not as great as you want it to be, and what's possible for that relationship, and your ideal financial results. And experience and hold on to the feelings of what that would feel like by transforming all 3 of those to having the ideal relationship with each one of them. And as you take one more deep breath in through the nose, slowly let it out and open your eyes with a smile on your face. Now, the reason we do this is to create awareness on where we are in our life, taking inventory, and where we want to be moving forward. It's that simple. Without being aware, we are wandering through life, easily frustrated at what we aren't creating. And we don't even know what it is we want to be doing. So it's important to be aware. And after we create the awareness, the next thing is to create a plan that works, my friends. So many plans fail because people aren't aware of what they want first. That's why this is important to do this exercise. They're not aware of what they want first and why they want it. If you don't know what and you don't know why, then it's going to be hard to create a plan on how to execute it. So this is important. You must do both of these things, or your year will suffer. You'll fail on developing key habits and taking the consistent actions that build momentum to help you follow through when things get challenging. My friends, it's so essential that we do this. It's so essential that we follow all these steps. Otherwise, we're going to be constantly asking questions. How do I get to the next step? How do I get to where I want to be? How do I achieve my dreams? I don't know what to do. It's because you're not following a proven process. That's why I put together a free guide to show you exactly the steps you need to take to get clear on what you want and how to make it all come to life this next year. My friends, I'm so excited to share this with you. It's such a powerful guide. And it's been something I've been doing and using for over 15 years. And I credit it to how I've been able to achieve some of my biggest goals. Without it, I can guarantee that I wouldn't have hit many of them, or it would have been a big struggle along my entire journey. So this guide is essential to your success this year. And I'm going to give it to you absolutely for free. It's called the Perfect Day Vision Exercise. And all you need to do is click the link in this video, or if you're listening, go to lewishowes.com/vision. Again, that's lewishowes.com/vision. Now go there and download this free guide that will transform your year. It'll get you clear on your dreams and give you a proven plan to support you in achieving them. Guys, this is the truth. There is something powerful and magical that happens for people when they follow the Perfect Day Vision Exercise. And I want to hear what happens for you after you go through the process yourself. So make sure to let me know on social media at Lewis Howes what comes up for you and how you see your dream coming to life after completing this powerful exercise. And again, to get the full show notes, go to lewishowes.com/424. We'll have that linked up. And if you're listening, you'll have the whole video of this as well from YouTube. So go to lewishowes.com/424 and make sure to share this with your friends to support them in achieving their dream as well. If you have a friend who has been struggling in their life and maybe they're not making the money they want to make, or maybe you see their relationships are suffering, or maybe they've let their health slip by, make sure to send this to them. Guys, I'm telling you, this is such a powerful experience. If people go through the process, if they go through the guided meditation and they follow this plan, it's free. All you got to do is download it. I'm telling you, it'll set people up for incredible results.
Now you're bringing in some amazing research talking about the voice in our head and why it matters. Can we talk about, is it really possible to control the conscious mind? Is that even possible? Or are thoughts always going to be coming in and out without our ability to control them?
Yeah, well, it's a great question to kick us off. And so here's how I break it down. We can't always control, well, we can't control the thoughts that pop up in our head. So we don't know why I'm going to be walking down the street and all of a sudden just have a really dark thought about this, or a positive thought about something else. We don't have control over the thoughts that pop. But what we do have control over is how we engage with those thoughts once they surface.
Okay.
And we have a lot of control there. We can choose to immerse ourselves in the thoughts, and if we immerse ourselves in the positive thoughts, that can be great. Like when I'm out here in LA, I'm away from my kids and my family. I'm walking down the street, I'm thinking about my youngest daughter who tried to FaceTime me this morning at 4:30 in the morning, and it brought happiness to me, just thinking about how cute that was, and it was inappropriate but cute at the same time.
Sure.
I immersed in it. I can also choose to distance myself from my thoughts or challenge my thoughts. So there's a range of things we can do when thoughts pop up. So and that's where the control comes in. And as we were mentioning a little bit earlier, we don't get taught in a systematic way how to manage our thoughts in this way. And I think that's a problem. And it's one of the reasons why I wrote the book.
If someone is asking themselves, what I think I am, are we our thoughts, or are our thoughts something that don't define us?
Well, I think this is another important aha that we can give, because thoughts are mental events. They're things that pop up in our head. Whether they define us or not depends on whether we allow them to define us. And
what does that look like when we allow it to?
We can be strategic about that. So allowing myself to think of myself as someone who I'm going to give you all the positive features
Yes.
here, right? So someone who has is intellectually curious, is a good friend, has humility. I allow those thoughts to define myself. I think that they are fairly accurate portrayals of who I am.
Right.
Those thoughts are constantly being tested in my life, right? Because I'm getting feedback when I interact with people, when I go on different kinds of events and people, say things like that informs whether that understanding of who I am is in touch with reality. I think we want to have that. But other kinds of thoughts, like self-defeating ones, I'm not good enough, this manuscript was rejected, or I really put my foot in my mouth. I mean, I put my foot in my mouth all the time. Like it hopefully won't happen during this conversation,
Yeah.
but if I allowed myself to be defined by my foot in the mouth faux pas, I would not be a happy individual. So there's agency there. There is a choice to attach to some cognition, some thoughts, and not others.
So is it about attaching an identity to the thought? Is it saying this is who I am and where does identity play into that then? Is that allowing, I am this, as opposed to this is something I think, but it's not who I am?
Yeah, so it's about you can internalize or externalize. Different kinds of experiences happen to us, right? And so people who tend to be more optimistic, as an example, they'll internalize the positive, but externalize the negative. And what I mean by that is they'll take responsibility for positive things that are going on, but they'll shirk the responsibility for the negative. Well, it's about the situation. Now, you could do that to an extreme, right? So let's say you're at work and things aren't going well. You do need to experience some negativity. It's not always someone else's fault. Like sometimes it is going to be your fault, and owning that can be quite useful. One thing that I often tell people is that negative emotions aren't something that we should be trying to avoid. We evolved the capacity to experience negative emotions for a reason. They provide us with really useful information that we can use to manage ourselves. And one of the best examples of this is there are children who are born into the world each year with the inability to experience physical pain. So it's a genetic
They can't
anomaly.
feel, I punch you in the face, you don't feel it.
You don't feel physical pain.
I stab you with a knife, you don't feel the pain. Really?
It's a genetic polymorphism. It's in the
Break
book.
a bone, you don't feel the
You
pain.
do not feel the pain, right? So it's a mutation. It's a quirk of genetics, and you can't feel the pain. What happens to these children is they die young.
Oh, because they're putting hand on the fire, they're hitting their
got it.
head over and over again.
You got it. So pain is useful in small doses. It's really helpful that if I put my hand on the flame, I pull it away. The pain, the negativity is what makes that such an amazingly adaptive response. So let's go away from extreme examples. If I've got a big performance coming up, a big event, thousands of people, and a couple of weeks before, the whispers. Steven Spielberg talks about these as whispers in his ear.
Never gonna make it.
Right? Oh my God!
You're not good enough.
Thousands of people. You've got to get right. A little bit of anxiety bubbles up. Really useful, because you know what happens? Then I start working on the presentation.
Make sure you're prepared.
And I practice. So negativity, negative emotions in small doses, elegantly adaptive. When the negative emotions become harmful, is when they become more chronic. And that's what chatter is all about. When we experience a negative emotion and then we get stuck in it, we get so immersed that we start looping over and over and over again. That's not good. And that's the pain point that I think so many people suffer from, and where I think the science can be really helpful, because we know there are things that people can do when that happens to manage it.
You're one of the leading experts in controlling the conscious mind. Where's the biggest challenge you face in your personal mindset? Even though you practice these tools, teach these tools, what's the chatter that still holds you back?
Well, thank you for asking this. I don't experience chatter. No, I'm lying. Of course I experience chatter. I'm a human. Actually, we've done research, and what we know is that people in general are much better at advising others than they are following their own advice. There's a name for this phenomenon. It's called Solomon's Paradox. It's named after the Bible's King Solomon, who was famous for being wise. But if you read his story, he was not wise when it came to his own life. He had concubines, and they all got in fights, and his whole kingdom unraveled. This is a truism that I can tell lots and lots of other people how to manage their chatter, and here's what the science says, but that doesn't mean I never struggle with it myself. I like to think I'm pretty good at it, but I still experience blips of chatter.
Yeah.
The domains that I experience it, mostly about the well-being of my kids and my family. I can, when something happens to them, the world stops, and it's easy to start going down that rabbit hole and
Anxiety, stress, worry, fear.
Yeah, are they gonna be sick, or are they gonna do well in school, and blah blah blah. And the moment I catch myself experiencing that chatter, I try to put an end to it by using the tools that are in the book and other tools that are out there. So, but certainly, I can experience it. Work-related chatter, big thing coming up, a big paper that gets rejected from a journal. That's the currency in science. Like, you do these experiments for years and years and years. You spend time writing them up, and then you submit them, and then people say, no, not so good.
Really?
Yeah, that's not fun. Rejection isn't a great feeling.
How does someone deal with the rejection from the chatter of rejection or the fear of rejection, even before they put something out there?
Yeah.
Say they want to launch a book, a speech, or whatever it is, a paper, but they're so afraid to even put it out there because of the rejection that might come, versus you put it out there and it's rejected.
Yeah.
How do you manage both of those situations of chatter?
Well, so one idea that I really do believe very strongly in is that there are no single tools that work for all people across all situations. We often hear, like, do this and it's going to rid you of anxiety. I've been doing research on this for 20 years. I have yet to find it. I'd be curious if you have in all the interviews and research that you've done. Magic pills, I've yet to find them. But what I have found are lots and lots of tools that can often be used in combinations to help people. And I think both of those situations lend themselves well to using different chatter tools. So take the concern about being rejected. If that were me and it was holding me back from doing something, one thing I would do is I do something called mental time travel, or in technical terms we call it temporal distancing. I'd think to myself about, how many other situations have been like this, and have I actually been rejected in the past? Yeah, like, what are the rates? Like, let's do some reality testing. And when I do that, well, not too many. In fact, just a couple of weeks ago, I had a big presentation, and it was like the prep for this presentation. It was virtual. It was designed to stress me out because first the producers said, "All right, we want you to script this and just record it." And I never memorized talks. I just like to speak, but I did it, and then I sent it to them. And the lighting isn't good, so do it again. And then at the 12th hour, they're like, just do it live. So they're pushing all my buttons, and I felt a little bit of chatter beginning to brew. And then I reminded myself, Ethan, you've given literally hundreds of presentations. They've never tanked in a terrible way.
Yeah.
And that realization, so looking at that broader perspective, the bigger picture, really useful. The other thing I would do is, I don't know if you were listening carefully, but when I just went over what I did before, I used my own name to kind of coach myself through the experience.
Is that called
third person
communication?
We call it distant self-talk. And that's another tool that I think is personally really useful. I talk about this too. There's a lot of data behind this. We know that we're better at advising other people than we are ourselves, right? Like, it's not, I don't think, a controversial statement, but you push back if you think it is.
Of course.
It's like,
we stay in relationships far too longer when we know we should get out of them, but we tell someone else, you need to get out of that thing, it doesn't look good. We'll do certain things to hurt ourselves over and over. We'll eat the food we're not supposed to eat. We'll do all these things, but we can tell someone else, oh, you need to stop doing that.
Exactly. So here's what I find mind-blowingly fascinating.
Yeah.
we have learned. So this is a big amp up. I better deliver here. We've learned that there are ways that we could engage with ourselves like we were engaging with someone else. And language is one tool we can use to do it. And it involves coaching ourselves through a problem using our name and other like second person pronouns, words like you. If you think about when do we use names and second person pronoun you? When we think about and refer to others. Like most of the time I use names, it's when I'm addressing other people or thinking about other people. So like, Laura, what is she doing right now with my wife? Danny, I'm using names. Names in our brains, like this is the currency of thinking about others. So what happens when you use your own name to think about a problem? It's like a psychological jujitsu move.
Yeah.
It's automatically switching your perspective and allowing you to start engaging with yourself, advising yourself like someone else.
What happens when we don't do that? When we are just, I'm horrible, I'm stupid, I can't do this, I'm never enough, or I gotta get myself out of this. When we speak from I as opposed to, Lewis, you got this.
Yeah.
Lewis, you are good enough.
Yeah. So
what happens when we come from I?
So I is a signature of being immersed in the experience. And that can lead us down the rabbit hole of rumination and worry, and use your favorite descriptor. I call it all of that chatter. Ruminations when you're spinning about the past, worries spinning about the future. In each case, you're spinning, you're making yourself nuts. I, me, my. Chatter is all about being so zoomed in on the problem, you can't think about anything else.
What if you use I am in a powerful sense? I am able to get through this. I am confident. I've put in the work. I am loving.
Yeah.
Would that be supportive? Or is it better to still say, Lewis, you are loving. Lewis, you are kind. Lewis, you got this.
Yeah. So, I mean, the positive affirmations, there's mixed evidence behind them. They could be useful in some cases, but less useful, but not useful in others. I would suggest trying to coach yourself through the problem using your name. Because what it does, it's like a mental time out, right? It's letting you step back from the situation and it's broadening your perspective. When we broaden our perspective, we often realize that there's a lot more to the situation than what's making us Looney Tunes temporarily. Very technical term, by the way, Looney
it's true.
Tunes.
Crazy. You're almost like you're in a mental tornado that you can't get out of.
Yeah.
You're spinning in a loop and you're in a cycle you can't get out of. So wait a minute, you mentioned positive affirmations, that there might be some research that supports it and contradict it. In the world of personal growth and personal development, positive affirmations has been a standard for probably, 50 or 100 years.
Yeah.
What is the science of positive affirmations saying currently?
Well, so self-affirmations, this idea that I'm a good human being, I am worthwhile, I mean, there is some evidence that can be useful, but there are other studies that don't show benefits. Not that it backfires, but there's just some variability.
Not benefits, gotcha.
Right?
Well, also, if you're lying in the real world, but you're saying, I'm a person of integrity.
Right.
Then there's probably a disconnect if you're saying a positive affirmation, but you're not actually being it, right?
Well, I think that gets to like a very profound issue that is useful to talk about here, which is in a lot of the work that we do on trying to figure out how can you help people who are spinning, work through it, you're getting them to engage and work through that problem. All right, Ethan, how are you going to manage a situation? It's a situation. What are you going to do? We're not making it, I like to joke, when we have people distance in that way or use other techniques and tools, we're not transforming this situation into the culinary equivalent of cupcakes and warm cups of tea. And I don't think we should be. That means we're not making this negative thing into a remarkable positive thing. We're turning the temperature down, allowing people to manage this aversive situation in ways that allow them to then move on. Mm-hmm. It's not always possible to take something that is totally negative and make it an extreme positive. And I don't know that we would always want to do that.
Really?
Because learning from mistakes can be really, really helpful. Like, I value.
Isn't there a way to learn from the mistake and not let it consume your energy and make
That's
you
exactly what we try to do.
Feel exhausted? Something I learned in the last couple of years, that I wasn't good at this until about 2 years ago. And the more I practice it, I have found this technique. Maybe there's a term for this tool that you have. I have found this technique to be extremely life-changing for me.
Yeah.
You talk about the mental time travel. Is that what you mentioned?
Yeah.
Like time travel, mental time travel. Looking back to see how you've overcome something.
Yeah.
When I'm going through challenging situations now, especially something that happened a few years ago, there was a challenging situation that I was like, man, this sucks. This really sucks. And it wasn't fun for a few months. I remember saying to myself, the only way that I could get out of it without feeling like pain every day and feeling like taken advantage of and abused and all these things was to say, this is happening in my favor. In 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years out, I'm going to look back and realize, oh, this happened so that I could do this in my life, so that I could have a better experience in my relationship, so that I could be a better leader in my business.
Yeah.
It's almost like future time traveling.
Totally.
And just telling myself over and over, this is happening in my favor. This is happening to support a greater mission in the future. And when I think that way, I'm like, okay, I can handle this.
Yeah. So what you described is not notably, that's not a positive affirmation, right? Like, and in that situation, that's the only thing that, like, sometimes if we're dealing with true adversity, it feels inauthentic to just say everything's going to be it, right? What you're describing is exactly mental time travel, temporal distancing. Temporal distancing is the
scientific terminology.
It's the dorky term. I throw it in there. It's a habit. Sorry,
I like it. Temporal distancing.
Temporal distancing. Yeah.
What does temporal mean?
Temporal time. So distancing through time.
You can either do that in the past or future.
Or the future. So take COVID, right? Which has been, I think, tough for many of us, myself included, right?
Yeah.
Temporal distancing is one thing.
It wouldn't be fun being stuck in Michigan, it'd be tough.
Yeah,
it's okay.
I was waiting for when the next dig would come, but don't you worry, we have more time.
You got lakes and everything.
I will get some digs about Ohio.
Beautiful land up there, actually. It's good. You have more lakes and beautiful scenery than we do.
Nice try.
Sorry, go ahead.
For COVID, one thing, and I've done several. I have like a cocktail a non-alcoholic cocktail I take, right, of tools that I use. Mental tools, right? Because we've actually done some research on combinations of tools are particularly useful. But for COVID, I think about the future. Like 5 months from now, we're going to be vaccinated. We're going to go on vacation.
Yeah.
The worst part of this will be over. When I do that, I realize that as awful as what I'm going through right now is, it's temporary. It's going to fade. We will get back. That gives me hope. Hope is a powerful way of alleviating chatter.
Really?
Then I'll go back in time too, and I'll think about pandemic of 1918, which was much, much worse than what we were going through now.
Much scarier, probably.
Much scarier. We didn't have the medical technology. We didn't have Zoom. We didn't have takeout, right? Like much. I mean, takeout, I'm joking, but it makes a difference.
Benefit for people, yeah.
Yeah. So, and we didn't just even though it was worse, we got through that and we came roaring back, like the roaring 20s, economic growth.
That's true.
So in each future past, I'm broadening my perspective. It's getting me away from, oh my God, I can't get through another day.
Stuck in this,
It's
no way out.
It's distancing, and it's a very useful tool.
Before we continue this video, make sure to subscribe below and turn on the notification bell right now so you don't miss out on these great videos every single day. How do we build that confidence in ourselves when all we hear is that negative feedback, though? And that it's going to happen. We can distance ourselves, but we keep hearing it. How do we then say, okay, I'm not going to listen to this, but it really affects me and it hurts me?
Yes.
How do you then say, all right, I'm going to hear it every day or every week. It's going to come my way no matter what I do. But psychologically, internally, what are the tools or the skills we can acquire to develop that belief?
First thing I always say is you got to take yourself back to any time in your past career or even current career and remind yourself of all the things that you're good at, all the accomplishments.
Celebrate your wins.
Amen. Right. Here's is what, man, I'm a tall, handsome brown man.
Yeah.
Right. You know what? I'm really good in math. I look good in white dress shirts. Whatever those things are. Remember, Ivan, you were the first person to get your PhD before the age of 30. Whatever those things are. And it's not enough just to tell yourself, you got to write it down. When I took that job as an AD, even when as job as a vice president, self-doubt comes in. There's enough people I've
never done this before.
Yes.
Why should I be in this position?
You only got the job because he's black. You only got the job because you're a woman. Whatever it is, there's all people that are going to be coming at you. And if you're not careful, you'll start to take on those thoughts. And then those thoughts will influence your belief system. And that belief system will then influence your actions. And you'll start messing up. And it's this self-fulfilling prophecy. So stop that thought. Put something down on paper. You'll hear me speak about a self-confidence letter, a letter you write to yourself.
Yeah.
Dear Lewis, congratulations on building your business. You set a goal and you accomplished it. I was whatever it is, right? And it's your personal brag sheet to yourself. When I became an AD, I had to read that probably, I kid you not, 2 weeks straight. And this isn't about ego.
Wow.
This isn't about, you're telling everybody how good you are. No, this is your personal brag sheet. And I equate this to, you remember when you were at a track and field meet and you're a kid, there's some kids that put their medals on and they walk around the track and field, first place. And then there's the person who takes their medal and puts it in their bag. But when they get home at night, they put it on and they're looking in the mirror like, yes. Whatever that is, that's the difference about a self-confidence letter.
Interesting. Self-confidence letter or a letter to yourself. We call this rainy day notes from an exercise that I've been through where it's like, write yourself a letter that when you're going through something challenging, you open it up.
I love
and you
that.
remind yourself of your gift, how much you matter, the contribution you've made in your life, your family, your friends, things like that.
Yeah.
Or you could get a group of friends to write letters to you that you seal and you open up when you need some inspiration or motivation.
I love it. There's a researcher by the name of Sonia Lubomowski, and she speaks about taking a gratitude, taking a letter and writing it to one of your friends, a gratitude letter to your friends, telling them of all the things you appreciate in them and how that builds your happiness and your optimism and your confidence. Not just in the moment, but even when they come back 30 days later, it's even higher than in the moment.
Yeah.
Right. And so those are the things you need to think about is, okay, sometimes we think about just a letter to ourselves, but if you can share that happiness and genuine praise with others, it also boosts your own happiness and optimism.
Why is that? When we express gratitude or appreciation towards others, it increases our happiness.
What they say, the science of it says it releases dopamine, right? And then when dopamine comes in it's the I'll say the endorphin, the happiness chemical. And the more dopamine in there, the better you feel. Unfortunately, as you get older, dopamine gets down in your body.
Really?
Yes. And
just naturally?
Naturally
so you have
goes
to
down.
actively build it.
Yeah. You always wonder, why grumpy old man? What is I'm getting to be the grumpy old man.
Really?
I got to get my dopamine up. So you got exercise.
It's a chemical thing where it's like testosterone or something else.
Exactly.
Like, as the older you get, you start losing it.
Yes. Wow. I feel it coming on.
You already feel grumpy?
I already am you know what? I'm like, you crazy whippersnipper, man. I got less patience. I feel it. It's like,
really?
I'm coming back. Am I Sanford and Son? Is that what's happening?
Wow.
You're not old enough to know even who are you old enough to know who Red Fox is, Sanford and Son?
Sanford and Son, yes.
Oh, old junk man. Okay, just checking. Yeah.
So it's interesting. So this is something you really got to cultivate. I interviewed Dr. Lori Santos on, and she's got the Happiness Lab. She's, I think it's one of the most popular classes at Yale.
Yale, yeah.
And I asked her, I go, what are because she was talking about gratitude as one of the key factors of happiness. And I go, you're talking like a self-help personal development person now,
like a guru,
with no science backing anything, just saying be grateful and express gratitude and appreciation. She's like, this science is proving that is true. The more you express gratitude, the happier you'll become. The more you do for others and contribute to others, the happier you become.
The science of, and not only just from feeling good and happiness, but the science also then links that to performance. And don't quote me on the numbers, but it's related to your creativity output, right? I think the same Lubomowski, the same study she did, I think you're 19% more productive Analytic problem solving. You're 29% quicker to solve complex problems. And here's the big one.
When you're what? In
When you're happier, when you express gratitude, when you use positive statements of affirmation to yourself. The big one, you increase your revenue by 36% if you use 3 statements of happiness, personal affirmations.
No way.
Sonia Lubomowski, 2006, Harvard study.
Wow. So if you do, how are you going to increase your income?
3 affirmations, 3 positive statements of gratitude, 3 expressions of hope, warmth, joy. That is what showed. Yeah.
Wow. About yourself, about
Either yourself or others.
Oh, interesting.
Right?
Now, what if you're saying something about yourself, but you're really lying?
This is
You talk about this too. It's like, is it the science of lying to yourself? How do you say something like, I'm a great individual, when you're like, actually, I haven't been a great individual. I've been bad, treating people bad. I haven't been showing up on time, whatever it is.
Yeah. And so this is an interesting one.
The lying self-talk that hurts you.
It's hard to say because what might be a lie to me may not be a lie to you. I'll tell you a story. I had a guy, his name is Kyle, who made my soccer team, and he believed that he was the greatest guy. I'm like, I'm gonna make this team. That guy showed up and he had like a foot like a donkey, right? And I remember seeing him come onto my team, and I had just taken over this team at Ryerson. I was like, oh, he's a black guy from Jamaica. He's gonna be fast. I was so happy. I was never so disappointed.
Wow.
Right? And that guy was gonna be an equipment manager.
At best.
Yeah, at best. Fast forward 4 or 5 years, this guy became the captain of my team, an all-Canadian, and the starter on my first ever team that went to the national championships. He had no business believing that he was good enough to make this team. I mean, I coached at this championship, that world championship, Olympic World Cup qualifier. So maybe I'm not the one to judge what is a lie. But I will tell you, if you think you're gonna fly, I'm gonna be $1 billion, I'm gonna be $1 million. I will tell you, it's not the statement that really sets you up. It's the fact that people then start putting into their psychological mindset steps to move them in that direction. Whatever those little steps are, they stop feeling helpless and unable to affect their own destiny and start moving in the right direction. And that's where the impact happens.
That's an interesting thought, because you might look at someone like Jeff Bezos, who's like, I want to build $1 trillion company, when he'd never done anything close to it. Well, you might have laughed at him, but even though he was lying to himself in the moment, he didn't have that, but he was setting himself up to create that and to become the person he needed to become, the leader, the man, the human, to develop the skills to potentially do that one day.
Yeah.
Is that right? Or like, Tesla with Elon Musk, or sending rockets out into space and all these different things.
I can't imagine, and I'm going to ask you for my own, let's turn the tables. When you were sitting on your sister's sofa, what were you thinking when it started to germinate? When did the seeds start to germinate?
I started to really think of, I don't have anything right now, and I don't have the skills, the confidence to go do the things I want to do, the big dreams.
Yeah.
And so I said to myself, I'm going to go face all those fears and overcome all those doubts by doing them, by acquiring those skills, so that I can then go out and accomplish my dreams. Because I knew in order to have the dreams come true, I had to overcome a lot of challenges myself.
Did you have the dreams though?
I had a lot of big dreams.
But you weren't articulating them.
I had very specific dreams. Yeah. Very specific big
people
dreams.
must have thought you were crazy. Like you were
People thought I was
lying.
crazy,
Like you were sitting, you didn't even have.
My family was like, "Go get a job."
You ain't got 2 shoes to work together, right?
Yeah.
So,
but I believed it. And that's all that matters, really, for me.
Preach.
And I think, and I say this a lot to people, that it doesn't matter if the world believes that and you probably had a lot of great athletes as well, who you were like, you're amazing, you're the best, you can be so great, but they didn't believe it themselves. And it didn't matter if you and every other player thought they were incredible. If they didn't believe it, they were going to be subpar. And the reverse is, it doesn't matter if everyone else is against you or doesn't think that you have the skills. If you believe it, you can make it come true, which I think is unbelievable.
I will tell you there's 2 factors I've always seen that derail a young athlete or a young professional's career. Number 1 is their self-doubt, right? Their inability to believe in themselves. And interestingly enough, number 2 is the people that they have surrounded themselves with that become distractions that take them away from their goals. Over and over and over again. They fall into the wrong crowd, they get with the wrong partner, the wrong
advice.
Yes.
I think of Maurice Claret, I don't know if you know who he is.
Yes.
I'm from Ohio, and so we're the same age. And so when he was a freshman and they won the national championship, and he was like this all-star running back, it was like, this is the chosen one. He's going to do unbelievable things. But then he was surrounding himself with the wrong people who got him into the wrong things and influenced and persuaded him to do bad things and take the wrong steps. And that sent him to jail, and he never got in the NFL. And it was so much talent that could have been.
It was such a shame. I remember that story quite vividly when he declared.
Yep.
Yes.
Early.
Didn't the NFL change the rules to make sure that that never happened again?
Yeah. And he, and so it goes to show that being around the wrong people could influence you and potentially set you up in the wrong ways. Mm-hmm. So how do we make sure that we get out of that when we're such social creatures that we don't want to hurt people's feelings, that it's hard to go meet new people. You know, this is your comfort zone. These are your boys from the past. Like, they've been with you. How do we get out of that and say, hey guys, like, I'm gonna go do this thing over here instead?
Oh, I wish I could give you the gospel on that, because that is harder to do than what I'm gonna say. But here's where I always believe, and every time I have not done this, I have faltered. We all have that little tiny voice in our head. Whenever I don't listen to that little tiny voice in my head, I falter. And to me, that tiny little voice is, you know, I don't know, I'm gonna now use some voodoo language. You know, you got your head voice and you got your heart voice. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to, whenever I make a decision purely logically, I always am bitter, right? If I buy the cheap car instead of the one I want, if I do like the practical decision instead of the emotional one, I'm always bitter. And then you got this little heart that's sitting there, that little self-conscious piece that's telling you when you're going south. I don't know if it's your crap detector or your holy smoke detector. There's no science behind this, but any time I don't listen to that voice, when I fall off my values and my principles, I go south. And it's cost me money, it's cost me friendships, it's cost me opportunities.
How do you determine what your values and principles are when you're not sure?
It's a good question. I'm going to walk you through a little exercise.
Yes.
Do we have time for it?
Sure.
All right. I'm going to ask you, and we'll do it together. I call it my purpose exercise. In the last 18 months, what's the most important decision you've made? I'll do mine, right? And we'll share it for 30 seconds. In the last 18 months, you know, I got to be careful with this one, but I've made a decision, right, to take the vice president's job at Dalhousie University. I was the king of my fiefdom. I had all the freedom, all the things I want. And I made a decision to take that job. Boom.
Decision I made was to get into a relationship. Yeah, a new relationship in the last 18 months, yeah.
You got now 7 words, only 7, to tell me why you made that decision. And so I could be nice and fluffy. It was time for a new challenge, 7 words. I could say, I had outgrown the job, right? I was bored, whatever it is, but 7 words.
She made me a better version of myself.
Ooh, nicely done.
I don't know if that was 7, but.
Yeah, that's pretty close. Why her? So for me, why this job, right? People told me I couldn't do it. The one word, and it's got to be a value, the challenge, right? The challenge.
One word?
Yeah.
Why her? Vision.
Right?
5 years ago, I had done a guided visualization of the dream person I wanted to be with.
Yeah.
And she was the image of that vision.
So now we've just found 2 values, right? For one of my values is challenge. One of your values is growth, vision, whatever that word is. You saw it. And so when you start asking yourselves these questions, what's the most important decision you made in work? What's the most important decision you've made in your family? What's the most important decision you did for yourself? Right? What's the most important decision you make when taking on a conflict? Those help. That's the exercise I do.
You create a list of your values.
To help me find my North Stars.
Interesting.
And whenever those things are in alignment, you'll hear Daniel Pink talks about this, transcendent purpose. Whenever those things are in alignment, happiness, confidence, success, performance goes up. When they're not, sick days go up, disease goes up, conflict arises.
Poor choices, yeah.
Right? And so those are the things you need to think about. Now, that's the exercise I use, but I find it very, very helpful.
People think that I have to say the lie for it to be a lie. But I can tell you a story and leave something out. That changes the context of the story. So now the story is not accurate. I mislead you. That is a lie. And actually, the number one way people lie is by